Hello and thanks for joining us on the news on NTA International. I am Dennis Adegunloye. The headlines. King Charles III rides on horseback to inspect troops in his first trooping the colour as monarch. Nigeria joins other parts of the world to mark International Day to combat desertification and drought with advocacy on women's rights to own land. And key players in security sector review security procedures of 2023 general elections with the aim of issuing a report to guide future arrangements for elections in Nigeria. Now the details. King Charles III has carried out his inspection of the troops on horseback in his first birthday parade as monarch. Queen Camilla and Princess Kate followed in a carriage, a tradition known as trooping the colour. Charles Alpha reports.
Crowds gathered for the King's first trooping the colour in London, which started at 10 a.m. Charles became the first monarch in more than 30 years to take part in trooping the colour on horseback when he rode in his inaugural birthday parade. The colour, or regimental flag, trooped in front of hundreds of guardsmen and officers, were the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards. The air display of some 70 military aircraft following a 41-gun salute from nearby Green Park in central London came after bad weather cut short a planned flypast at Charles's coronation on May 6th. Britain's royal family rounded off King Charles III's inauguration birthday parade Saturday with a balcony appearance at Buckingham Palace to watch a spectacular flypast.
Princess Charlotte. Rain.
Queen Camilla in a military-inspired red outfit and William's wife, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who was dressed in green, followed in a carriage. 3 of the King's young grandchildren, future King Prince George, 9, Prince Louis, 5, and Princess Charlotte, 8, joined the rest of the family on the balcony and were cheered by the crowds who gathered outside the palace in the mall, the avenue leading up to it. It ended with the Red Arrows, the Royal Air Force's aerobatic display team trailing red, white and blue vapors. Charles's actual birthday is on November 14, but British sovereigns celebrate it twice, once in private and again in the public. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Now, despite comprising nearly half the world's agricultural workforce and producing up to 80% of food in developing countries, women's rights to inherit their husband's property continue to be denied in over 100 countries. With the theme, Her Land, Her Rights, the United Nations is promoting the role and rights of women to land ownership as it celebrates this year's International Day to combat desertification and drought, as Onenge Fineface tells us.
Discriminatory practices related to land tenure, credit access, equal pay and decision-making often impede the active participation of women in sustaining land health. The United Nations notes that less than 1 in 5 landowners worldwide are women.
In many countries, laws and practices block women and girls from owning land. But where they do, they restore and protect it, increasing productivity, building resilience to drought, and investing in health, education and nutrition. Equal land rights both protect land and advance gender equality.
That when women play a central role in the restoration of land and the mitigation and adaptation to climate change, it creates better outcomes all round.
Particularly for women in developing countries.
Women who own and control land are better able to provide for their families, secure their livelihoods, and invest in their communities, leading to improved health and education outcomes.
In addition to New York, Other events to mark Desertification and Drought Day, which officially falls every year on June 17, held in all parts of the world, including Nigeria, where the Federal Ministry of Environment organized a roadshow to create public awareness on the role of women in combating desertification and drought and the need to uphold women's rights to land ownership. Onengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
And to speak more on International Day to combat desertification and drought, I have with me in the studio the Director, Desertification, Land Degradation and Drought Management at the Federal Ministry of Environment and National Focal Point United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, in person of Mabel Okirigwo Emmanuel. You're very welcome to NTA International Studios.
Thank you.
All right, her land, her rights. This is the theme of this year's International Day to Combat Desertification and Drought. Can you give us some context as to how women's ownership of land translates to effectively combating desertification and drought in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question. Naturally, the hands of women have always shaped and nurtured life across the planet, from barren lands to fertile soil. Naturally, it is logical to allow those hands that have nurtured this life across this landscape to own and have access to land.
Okay, and experts in the United Nations have said on several occasions that the impact of desertification and drought affect women the most. In what ways are women affected, and what difference does it really make, or would it really make, if equal access to land is achieved, especially in Nigeria?
The drought and desertification have the most impact on women, because, for instance, if there is a drought in any country, and especially in Nigeria, women have to go long distances looking for water. So in this way, they are mostly affected by lack of water as a result of drought. And when there is drought in any country, and especially in Nigeria also, the men move away to other areas for other activities, but the women remain in the villages, and they are there to cope and struggle with all the challenges associated with the drought. So in this way, they are most affected by drought and desertification.
All right, lastly, beyond this case for gender parity, are there any other targets in terms of what needs to be done by individuals, governments and communities and the private sector to address the increasing cases of land degradation caused by desertification, drought and even desert encroachments in the northern parts of the country?
Yes. In order to achieve land degradation neutrality, government must realign its policies in the different sectors. Policies in, for instance, in mining is at conflict with policies in environment. Policies in housing and urban development is also at conflict with policies in environment, and also policies in agriculture. So for us to have land degradation neutrality, there is need for realignment of policies, of sectoral policies with the environment. Individuals and private sectors, they need to contribute to land degradation neutrality through planting trees, either in their premises around their homes or in the desert areas. In areas affected by desertification, communities are expected to plant trees in their community. And the private sector, especially those that are into housing development, they should ensure that their policies are in alignment with the policies on the environment, instead of destroying all the trees that are around the that are in the premises of the land where they are planning their housing. They have to look for a way of integrating those trees that they have destroyed into the area of their development.
All right, I just have one last question for you. Just to highlight for us again the impact of ownership of landed property by women generally around the world. What impact does this have against these scourges that we are witnessing?
Women ownership of land is very important, because it is when you own land that you can be committed to making sure all the restoration activities are carried out. In addition to that, you cannot really work on a land that you don't own, because you are not sure when the owner of that land will come and take it over from you. So land ownership is very important for women, because without land ownership, they will just be dealing with without land ownership, they will not put in all their efforts to make sure that they achieve all the agricultural goals that they.
Okay, Mabel Okirugu Emmanuel, Director, Desertification, Land Degradation and Drought at the Federal Ministry of Environment and National Focal Point United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. Many thanks for taking the time to share your thoughts with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on to other news. Mediators in the Sudan War may be far from reaching another truce as renewed offensives seem to be in top gear in the capital, Khartoum. Let's join Kolo Mohammed for more details.
Airstrikes killed civilians and pummeled multiple parts of the Sudanese capital on Saturday, residents said, as mediators pushed the warring factions towards a new ceasefire. Fighting between the Sudanese army and the paramilitary rapid support forces is in its third month, with neither side gaining a clear advantage. The war has displaced 2.2 million Sudanese, killing hundreds, and has sent the war-weary Darfur region into a humanitarian calamity. The army has the advantage of air power in Khartoum and its neighboring cities of Omdurman and Bahri, while the RSF has embedded itself in residential neighborhoods. On Friday and Saturday, the army appeared to ramp up airstrikes, hitting several residential neighborhoods. In a speech posted by the army, Top General Yasser Al-Attah warned people to stay away from homes the RSF has occupied, because at this point, we will attack them anywhere, he said to cheers. Between us and these rebels are bullets, he said, appearing to dismiss mediation attempts. The Khartoum Health Ministry confirmed a report by local volunteers on Saturday that 17 people, including 5 children, were killed in the Mayo area of southern Khartoum and 25 homes destroyed. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
In the meantime, a group believed to be linked to a terror organization has attacked a school in Uganda, killing about 41 people and wounding scores more. Here again is Kolo Mohammed with details.
Around 41 people, mostly pupils, have been killed at a school in western Uganda by rebels. 8 people remain in critical condition after the attack on Hubiriha Secondary School in Mupendwe. Boys staying in dormitories are among the dead. Several others, mostly girls, have been abducted. The Allied Democratic Forces, based in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, have been blamed for the attack. The attack happened at around 11:30 on Friday at the school in the Kesese district in western Uganda. Some 5 suspected ADF rebels carried out the attack, burning the school buildings and looting the food store. Some of the bodies are said to have been badly burned, and DNA tests will need to be carried out to identify them. The attackers are said to have touched the students' mattress and are also thought to have detonated bombs in the area. Photos of burning buildings at the school have circulated on social media. Members of the wider community are possibly among the dead. A number of students remain unaccounted for, and the exact number of those who died is still unclear. Many of the bodies were transferred to Bwera Hospital.
Attacked the school and they murdered on spot by killing 22 students from this school, and then threw a bomb in a hostel that also killed 17 students. Now the total at the school is going up to 39. And within the community, as they were going back, they also murdered 2 people, a female and a male.
Soldiers are pursuing ADF insurgents towards DRC's Virunga National Park Africa's oldest and largest national park, which is home to rare species, including mountain gorillas. Militias, including the ADF, also use the vast expanse which borders Uganda and Rwanda as a hideout. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International. Stay with us. We'll have more reports after this break. Thanks for staying with us. Russia has moved nuclear warheads to Belarus from where it usually launches its attacks since the invasion of Ukraine began. This has generated deep reactions from NATO allies. Kolo Mohammed reports.
Vladimir Putin says Russia has already stationed the first batch of tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. Russia's president told the forum they will only be used if Russia's territory or state is threatened. The U.S. government says there is no indication Kremlin plans to use nuclear weapons to attack Ukraine, even though President Biden assures NATO allies of continued support.
Of U.S. forces and equipment already stationed in Europe to strengthen our Baltic allies, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Let me be clear, these are totally defensive moves on our part. We have no intention of fighting Russia.
A report says Belarus is a key Russian ally and served as a launch pad for Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February last year. Putin points out that transferring the tactical nuclear warheads will be completed by the end of summer. Answering questions after a speech at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, Russia's president maintains that the move is about containment and to remind anyone thinking of inflicting a strategic defeat on them. When asked by the forum's moderator about the possibility of using those weapons, he replied, "Why should we threaten the whole world? I have already said that the use of extreme measures is possible in case there is a danger to Russian statehood." Tactical nuclear weapons are small nuclear warheads and delivery systems intended for use on the battlefield or for a limited strike. They are designed to destroy enemy targets in a specific area without causing widespread radioactive fallout. The smallest tactical nuclear weapons can be 1 kiloton or less, producing the equivalent of 1,000 tons of the explosive TNT. The largest ones can be as big as 100 kilotons. By comparison, the atomic bomb the US dropped on Hiroshima in 1945 was only 15 kilotons. The Russian leader is due to meet African leaders in St. Petersburg after they visited Kyiv on Friday as part of a peace initiative they are presenting to both countries. However, while they were in the city of Kyiv, it came under Russian missile attack. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
The launch of a Ghana Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Development Program has taken place in Accra to provide a framework for inclusive sector planning. The document summarizes priority actions to resolve key challenges in the sector. This is to ensure that efforts to deliver wash services are properly coordinated to achieve universal basic services by 2030.
The Ghana Wash Development Programme contains an overview of Ghana's wash status. The entire documentation of the programme was led by the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, with support from the World Bank and participation of all relevant partners in the sector. The National Development Planning Commission ensured that the programme is in line with Ghana's National Medium-Term Development Policy Framework to ensure that neglected components of wash that require more attention are prioritized. Sector Minister Madam Cecilia Dapa recounted some transformative wash initiatives implemented over the past years.
In the rural subsector, ongoing reforms to transition the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, which is responsible for rural water, from a facilitator to a rural water utility, is a key government reform agenda that will help overcome the remaining service delivery challenges that persist in the rural communities. In the urban subsector, the poor are receiving enhanced attention as Ghana Water Company Limited has established a low-income customer department to facilitate the provision of water to these peri-urban communities. The sanitation subsector has increased its capacity nationwide to ensure that households have access to sustainable toilets, whilst institutions like schools and healthcare facilities have decent, gender-friendly toilets. All these are geared towards stopping open defecation.
The Global Director, Water Practice Group, World Bank, Mr. Saroj Kumaja, reiterated commitments to support Ghana. A consultant with Oxford Policy Management, Professor Kwabena Nyako, presented an overview of the program.
If we look back the past 20 years, we prepared policies, that's the National Water Policy and the Environmental Sanitation Policy. As we speak, National Water Policy is being revised, and what this document tries to do is to put the two together, revise it to reflect our needs today and tomorrow.
The estimated cost of implementing the Ghana Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Sector Development Program is about $1.7 billion per annum from 2021 to 2030.
With the 2023 general elections over, stakeholders in the security sector have reviewed their security procedures of the elections. The workshop, which is at the instance of the National Institute for Security Studies, is to issue a report to guide future security arrangements for elections in Nigeria. Kelvin Ewonaye reports.
Security has become an integral part of election process in Nigeria. But the National Institute for Security Studies, NISS, says the various security agencies that participated in the 2023 general elections can pat themselves on the back for delivering on their mandates. However, the lapses identified have to be analyzed and set a security template for future elections, a reason these stakeholders are gathered here.
I'm confident that we will emerge from this gathering with a deeper understanding and the renewed determination to safeguard our future electoral process.
It is important that issues of security in elections are intentionally addressed with people that have experience.
A document to come out from this workshop is to be made available to all the security agencies for action. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonaye, NTA News.
Meanwhile, experts in the health sector have stressed the need for collaboration to make health services not only accessible, but also affordable for Nigerians. This was at a press briefing to enlighten journalists on the workability of a health innovation EasyCare, aimed at taking healthcare services closer to Nigerians, especially in hard-to-reach areas. Basi Taikmang reports.
Mortality rates in the country could be reduced if patients have access to on-time consultations and treatment of diseases. This was the view of these medics who said EasyCare, an online medical app, is intended to draw medical doctors from various specialties together to provide healthcare services to reduce medical tourism, quackery and sudden deaths.
And I understand the challenges that come with accessing healthcare, and the challenges that come with the cost of healthcare, and the challenges that come with availability of healthcare providers. I just want to say EasyCare is simply having a hospital in your hand.
With over 1 million consultants and medical doctors on the app, EasyCare consultations will be done through video calls, visit to clinics and homes.
As each and every one of your information is kept confidential, and there is no disclosure, nobody is prying into your consultations. Whatever discussions you might have with the healthcare providers are strictly between you and the healthcare providers. The only way we at EasyCare come in is connecting you with those people.
They advocate the need for EasyCare to be incorporated into primary healthcare system for proper healthcare delivery across the nation. Basi Taikman, NTA News.
And staying on health matters, recognizing its universal appeal and many benefits that include improved flexibility and strength, as well as easing aches and pains, the Nigerian Television Authority is pledging its support to publicizing yoga as a form of exercise in Nigeria. This was at the commemoration of this year's International Day of Yoga, organized by the Indian Embassy in Abuja. Abdulsalam Jibril reports.
Cynthia and Dr. Adelaja here are first-timers practicing yoga. After a little over an hour session, they maintain that the experience is worthwhile and would henceforth include yoga in their daily exercise routine.
Yoga is the best exercise so far, yes, and I would advise my friends, my family, relatives to do so.
If you look at Nigerian environment, you can see people complaining of arthritis. Before it gets to that stage, please do yoga.
For the General Manager, NTA International, Ogania Simon, and yoga instructor, Mohanty, yoga goes beyond physical health as it also improves emotional development and psychological well-being.
Yoga has so many health and physical benefits. It helps you with your circulatory issues. It helps with breathing. It helps with flexibility.
Yoga, it is not only a scripture or culture, it is for all. It is for universal.
The healing power of yoga, improved health and healthy living was central during the session.
We want the concept of yoga for the whole of humanity. Everybody should be healthy and prosperous.
Proclaimed 21st June as the International Day of Yoga by the United Nations, yoga is an ancient physical, mental, and spiritual practice that originated in India but continues to grow in popularity around the world. In Abuja, Abdulsalam Jibril, NTA News.
Well, this is where we end the news on NTA International. Thank you so much for watching. I am Dennis Adigunle. Bye for now.